I made it rain!
I have kept this as spoiler-free as possible. Now, I've not made it a secret my disappointment with much of Marvel's output. I enjoy most of them in a these films are fine kind of way, but none have really resonated with or wowed me. They all have things to like. Ragnarok made me laugh, Iron Man 3 had a fantastic twist, Captain America is a genuinely great hero, and now Black Panther has offered what is probably the most complete package yet across all fronts. For me at least. I am known for my love of action though, and surprise, that is what I want to talk about mainly here. As for me, though Black Panther had the potential for the best action in the series, it still suffers from a lot of what has made Marvel, a franchise built around action set pieces, at least partially, feel forgettable to me. Now, everything around the action, Marvel has gotten pretty right, especially with the heroes. And slowly but surely they are beginning to tune into what complaints audiences have about the MCU and correct them. The films are getting a bit more visually exciting, the music cues more assured, and the stakes a little higher. So quickly, NordVPN is sponsoring this episode. As someone who appreciates Nord's values as a company and uses them myself, I definitely recommend them to anyone looking to protect themselves on the web. Just go to nordvpn.com/Rossatron or click the link in the description to get 77% off a free year plan. That's nordvpn.com/ROSSATRON and use the code Rossatron at checkout to get started today. Now back to the video. The fact is that I really like Black Panther as a character and Killmonger as a villain. It's cool to see a guy take the throne of a unique and interesting world and battle with indecision and personal demons, before then actually having to fight a monster of his beloved father's own making. A monster you somewhat sympathize with. The central conflict of ideas is stronger than anything we've seen before in the MCU and kept me engaged for the fights. But there sadly are the same old problems in the actual action that kept me from fully falling in love with the film. This is an action movie, about a guy in a badass panther suit with incredible abilities, who exists in a culture that bases who becomes its leader at least somewhat on ritual combat. There is so much potential here to see absolute world-class action, and it just isn't there. Half the fights happen with faces or even entire bodies covered, so it's not like they need to hide stunt performers. But rather than blaming Black Panther, this is really an issue within the entire MCU at this point. It's not just about how the fight scenes are shot or edited cut to cut, though I do feel there are problems there, but the general disconnect stylistically between the big CGI-filled set pieces and the more intimate, smaller scale action scenes. Yes, they all have an abundance of CG in some way, but these smaller moments are cut and covered in a very different way to those with probably more dependence on pre-visualization. Look for example in Black Panther at the fight between T'Challa and M'Baku. It's cut so close up and so quickly that here you don't even really see exactly how he breaks the mask. You just have to accept that he's done it, even though in the fight this is an important moment. I know that's one small individual thing, but it happens a lot through all of the fights. In the lead up to the Magnet Train fight, we get this very obviously CG'd grand shot that takes us through an easy to follow mid-air scrap, but it does feel animated. It's as if, like in much of the MCU, the more grounded fights, those still involving superheroes, are a bit of an afterthought, whilst the big set pieces are handled like an animated film. There is just a fluidity to something like this that is lacking in something like this. Yet the realism you see here is just not reflected in what you see here. I don't like the film very much, but Batman v Superman at least showed you can have a superpowered hand-to-hand fight and not cut like crazy. Fury Road never once feels tonally or stylistically out of step with itself in the action scenes. Mission Impossible has increasingly shown that there can be as much excitement and artistry in the small and big scale set pieces and have it all feel of the same creative hand. In a lot of Marvel, and Black Panther especially, everything feels like either an obvious CG animated sequence or something kinda cheap. They just don't mesh all that well. Smaller, shaky fights feel an afterthought, and the bigger set piece is so overly planned that they lose any sense of rough edges or danger. The waterfall, for example, never felt to me a natural place of any scale. Hell, the drop from the fight area is supposed to be our main source of tension, that they can fall to their deaths. but we only really get a sense of how dizzyingly high up these characters are at the end of the fight. It doesn't feel like someone with a sense of storytelling and narrative tension is in control of these sequences. Look at the casino fight too. We get a one-take shot, but it feels so jarringly obvious that it isn't a single take. It actually made me so much more aware of the editing and camera work that it took me out of the film. It had a similar issue to me that The Villainess had, though that film did things so impressive that I was still able to enjoy much of it, though I'll go into that film more at a later date. There are even moments to get through quicker that they edit out frames. They are trying to add power through speed, where it's the build-up and execution on set that actually creates that feeling. I kind of wondered if maybe part of it is that Coogler just isn't that great at directing action, but then I remembered this. I know that a sequence like this has less elements, but it's still complex, and what is this if not just a waterlogged stage? And it's not like this wasn't a scene filled with CG set extensions, so I just get brought back to the MCU and how they are planned and executed by committee that is the source of my problems with the action. What Kevin Feige has done with the MCU in just 10 years is nothing short of incredible. He's turned the franchise into a juggernaut, and the success of such a storyline crossing dozens of characters and settings is pretty miraculous. But that's restricted some of the artistry you might want from movies like this. Never before has there had to be such a controlled look and feel across different films. I can't deny that we've had some really nicely inventive sequences from the MCU. Thor Ragnarok proved that Marvel are willing to go that extra step with allowing directors to push something artistically, even using technology never before utilized for cinema to create genuinely stunning moments. So why not take that extra time or go that extra mile in the smaller action set pieces? Black Panther is a grounded character, and there are some fine moments within the action. Coogler put a hell of a lot of thought into what is going on with these sequences.
Broke the characters down. Okoye is a traditionalist, so she fights with a traditional weapon, and she fights in a very traditional style. It almost looks like dancing.
How they're captured, we don't get a sense of what Coogler wanted to convey as a director, as much of the action is technically not up to the level of the thought that's been put into the subtext. It's not like this is new for me, but the MCU control over directors, especially within the action sequences, is taking away from the films. Black Panther is one of my favourites within this universe yet, but I believe strongly that were there a bit more effort to differentiate the action sequences from Marvel's usual way of doing things, to really unify the style throughout, it would have been a genuine action classic. Internet security is something spoken about a lot these days, and with good reason. Like anyone, I've had brushes with hacking, I've had friends who have had genuinely life-changing attacks online. With changing political environments, net neutrality litigation, and the dangers of open networks, I think now if you have any concerns around internet security, a VPN is a must-have. NordVPN is incredibly easy to set up and use. There's a Chrome extension, it can be installed on Android or iOS devices and numerous operating systems, and their customer service is excellent. You can set up 6 simultaneous connections to over 61 servers worldwide that utilize military-grade encryption, and they don't believe in data logging, so you can be sure your information is secure and remains in your control. NordVPN is offering my viewers 77% off 3-year plans. Just go to nordvpn.com/Rossatron or click the link in the description to sign up and start protecting yourself. That's nordvpn.com/ROSSATRON and use the code Rossatron at checkout to get started today.